What was that case about?
Same thing, dope ripping.
How much?
A lot. And he's the one that was going to start setting up his own home invasion crews, you know.
The officer. The officer was going to set up a home invasion group.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like another movie idea.
Well, I talked about it in the book.
Netflix.
Yeah.
All right.
Called Training Day.
Yeah.
They've already done it.
Okay.
So can we go PG-13?
Sure.
Okay. So proactive IAD, and one of the other female vice officer calls us one day and goes, she's doing some sort of back page thing or whatever, and she makes contact with some guy that, oh yeah, I want to have sex, and I want to dress up like a woman, I'm going to bend over, and I want you to use this large device in my rectum, and it's going to be very exciting. And she's going, oh yeah, that's what I've always dreamed about. It's great, but you know, I'm a working girl. You know, are you going to pay me? Oh yeah, absolutely. $250. Okay. Well, in the background, she hears a police radio.
Oh God.
And so she goes, are you a police officer? He goes, yes, I'm HPD. It's okay. So you don't have to worry about, I won't hurt you.
Well,
oh, well, okay. So they break contact, and then, you know, and so Vice, they run over to our office. And so we're debriefing her, you know, and like, okay. So we make contact with the officer, and we're talking to the DA's office, and the DA goes, hey, you know, going to trial with a cop, we need to have it on video. We need to have, you know, a sting operation. We're not going to just go with a phone conversation. Okay. So Friday night, we're set up, and I got a decoy female with a big device in her purse, and he's going to show up. You know, he's telling that he's got all his girl dresses and stuff up in the attic where his wife can't find it. And yeah, it's going to be great. Friday night, which is my date night with my wife. And we're sitting out there, and he doesn't show up. So the next day we make contact. Hey, where were you? Oh, I got, you know, it's complicated, but, you know, I got a late call. I couldn't get there, but I really want to do it. I want to dress up and, you know, you with that big thing, and oh, it's going to be great. So next Friday night we're set up, and he doesn't show up. So we realized that he just wanted to talk about it. He didn't really actually wanted to do anything about it. It was just real exciting to talk about it. And the DA's office, they're like,
does that violate the general orders?
Well, so
what doesn't?
Wait a second. So I got a new lieutenant in proactive, and a couple months later, he's back at it again. He makes contact. Okay, this time I really, 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 really want to do it. I just can't wait. So we set up the sting operation. We're out there. I got the girl with the big thing in her purse, and he doesn't show up again. And my lieutenant, and he's a good guy, he goes, screw him. Bring him in, and we'll administratively fire him for soliciting, you know, engaging in criminal conduct, even though we can't. The DA's office won't take the charge because they wanted all that on videotape. We call him in, he's going, yeah, I got a problem, you know, because he's soliciting a prostitute. You know, I mean, how many citizens get arrested in the city of Houston every year for solicitation of prostitution, which is what this cop was doing. So the case goes up, he's relieved of duty.
But doesn't the solicitation have to culminate in an actual transfer of money?
Well, yeah, but it's the appearance of it, though. This is a on-duty.
I know, I'm thinking like a lawyer for a second here, but
well, you're wanting to convict him.
Yeah,
Internal Affairs
doesn't.
They have convicted him.
But that's why the DA's office wouldn't file charges.
Okay. All right.
But now we're talking about administratively.
All right.
Okay. So the case goes up.
So this is kind of a sound judgment.
Yeah, this is definitely not sound judgment.
Okay.
It gets better. Well, then they got worried because then I think I know the lawyer that represented him. He's pretty good. And he goes, oh, this guy's got transgender issues and it's very complicated and we may have to file a lawsuit because you're picking on him. And at the end of the day, he got like a written reprimand for conducting personal business on city time.
Stop it.
Yep. Because the lawyers were afraid of litigation.
You know what he shouldn't have done? Expressed his opinion on the evening news. That's what he should not have done, because that'll get you fired.
Yeah, I know somebody that did that.
I know.
Yeah.
That'll get you fired quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not wanting a
But
guy
solicit a prostitute. Do it.
solicit a prostitute to put a thing in your bunk, 3 times and overtime for all the tag team. That doesn't get you fired.
Did you get overtime for that at least?
Oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
that's what I mean. That doesn't get you fired. But
I-
speaking out on the news does.
that actually wasn't my case though. That was one of the female investigators in our unit.
Can you tell us the officer's name?
I didn't know.
Yeah. Okay. Funny story. There was an HPD sergeant. I can't remember his name. I think it was Oliver or something, but
Yes,
he got,
decided he was going to be a woman.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually riding around over at, I went to go visit him and,
I'll bleep that out.
yeah. And we're driving and, Chris Baker, who had a talk radio show, he calls me on my cell phone and he starts telling me this story. And he goes, I just wanted, he goes, you're familiar with the department. I know you're going through what you're going through, but I just had to get your reaction. I said, well, it sounds to me like he really wants to get promoted. And he about drove off the road. He's like, he goes, that's pretty good. I'm like, well, that's what it takes to get promoted around here.
Well, the department jumped through all kinds of hoops to accommodate that individual. I remember a black female that I was training, and she's pretty sharp. And she was a sergeant now at, I think, South Central, where she was assigned. But she was using the restroom, and he walked in his whatever, and she threw a fit. And then the department had to start trying to, have a special restroom just for this individual.
Well, yeah. Well, first they had to figure out which officer was a part of the bigger victim group.
Yeah.
First, that was the very first. Wait, who can be more offended in this situation? We'll pick her. Okay. And then that's the,
Right.
that's how they make their decisions.
The sectionality, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's the word I was
Intersectionality.
looking for. Sectionality.
Intersectionality, yeah,
Yes.
whatever intersects.
So you're,
like female,
Yeah.
lesbian, trisexual, demi boy. Got it.
I want to preface what I'm saying, though. I mean, because I've talked about, it just so happens that when I was in Proactive, the dope rippers happened to be black, a lot of them that we did. And then also the robbery crews that we did on the north side were almost exclusively black also. But at the same time, within HPD, there's some very talented black officers and supervisors that have all my respect. So I want to try and balance that with, so I don't sound like such a total racist.
Right. So there's a certain bell curve
Yes.
of competence, and people occupy the outlier positions are the ones who attract attention.
Mm-hmm.
The people who occupy the middle part, they come and go, they get their pension.
Right.
And it's like, who is that guy? I don't know. That there's a lot of that in the department.
Right.
You know?
Well, I've been a police officer in 3 different departments, and I know that crime is the same. Okay, it's a different accent. Wherever you go, it's exactly the same. The white trash in the trailer parks.
Yep.
In Arkansas, do some vile stuff. Okay, people in Acres Homes do some vile stuff. It just happens to be that they're all black, and the people all in the trailer parks in Arkansas are all white. Okay, but they're still committing crimes.
So a lot of my career was on the north side, and for the most part, we serviced a black community, and I know a lot of people there. And I would like to think that, yeah, we arrested a lot of black suspects or ended up shooting some of them, but it was actually in service to that community because it was so overwhelmed with crime.
So I'm not going to make you watch this video, but there's this video on, I guess it's the department's YouTube page, where they take cadets to these different, what is it, diversity training or something?
Yeah, diversity bus tour.
Yeah, they take them to Montrose, they take them to Chinatown, and they take them to the Holocaust Museum. Why, I don't know. I don't think that's really. But my suggestion for that diversity training is they should take them on a Friday night at 10:30 to Napoleon Square Apartments between Renwick and Rampart, Gulfton and Glenmont, and let them get some real.
Yeah, walk around.
Because I worked there for
Mm-hmm.
2.5 years in 17E10's beat. Although I was assigned to 17E30's beat, those working class people would go to sleep at night, right? So when you're on night shift, you spend most of your time in 17E10's beat. And I I mean, of course, I was 22 when I started. I grew up in 17 District.
Right.
I grew up in 17E30's beat. I knew all the streets. I didn't have to use my key map. It was the funniest thing. I knew my district better than the officers who worked there. And I'm like, well, that's where I went to elementary school. I went to middle school over here, Louis Welch Middle School, and then Johnston Middle School, and then went to Westbury High School. And so I knew all the major apartment complexes because I had friends growing up that, but there's this one part of 17 District from Bel Air and Hillcroft to about Chimney Rock and 59, where you have to speak Spanish, right? If you don't speak Spanish, you're going to have problems. So
Right.
you have to learn Spanish. And I've always found interesting is the department kind of doesn't tell you any of that. Because like I grew up there, I knew all the streets. I go to the academy, and the people who are instructing me when I'm a cadet have no kind of real intimate knowledge of the city. And I'm like, well, why are you? And then so years later, I'm thinking, why were they the ones teaching the class? It should have been, they should go get a night shift officer from 17 District,
Right.
a night shift officer from 20 District, an evening shift officer from 9 District, have them go to the academy for one day and say, okay, this is how it really is.
See, they don't want that because, you're going to contaminate the cadets, because in the academy, you get the certain protocol and this and this and this. And then when you get out, then there's a different reality.
But you get hit in the face with it.
Yeah, but they don't want that reality in the academy.
I walked into a shooting scene where a woman's husband was shot by her boyfriend, and he had that bright pink, freshly oxygenated young lung blood shooting out of his chest because it was, a really nice sucking chest wound.
Frothy blood.
Yeah. And fortunately for him, I had been in the infantry, and at Fort Benning, they teach you how to deal with a sucking chest wound. So I was like, without really trying to touch him too much, because, you take some piece of plastic, you put it on the floor, you roll them over, and you say, get your ass in the air, put as much pressure on that wound as you can, and wait for the ambulance to get here. And lo and behold, he survived.
Then take Motrin.
Yeah, take Motrin, drink water. Yeah, he survived. And I was, I read the homicide report later because, I did my report,
right.
And then they did do their supplement. And
they thought he was going to die.
Everybody thought he was going to die, but I was like, but he turned out that he told the homicide officer that the officer who showed up, he didn't know my name. I knew who he was talking about. He didn't use my name in the book. Said I was really rude.
Okay, whatever.
Because I was yelling at him, flip over, get over. Because I was like, this is the first time I'd ever seen like an actual sucking chest wound.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I'd start thinking, why the hell don't they show that in the academy? They should spend 2 or 3 days with nothing but this is what a sucking chest wound looks like. This is what someone's, when they get stabbed 4, 5, 10, 15 times, this is what you're looking for. When I walked into the apartment, there was blood dripping down the wall.
Did you have to, when you're in the academy, did you have to go witness an autopsy?
Yes.
Yeah, we did that. They stopped that, but I thought that was...
No, wait, I'm sorry. I did that in law school.
Okay.
I did that in law school, not the academy.
Well, when we were in the police academy, we had to go witness an autopsy.
I think everybody should do that.
Yeah, so it was already kind of getting you prepared.
Yes.
Particularly if you were a college kid as opposed to somebody that had come from the military.
Yeah, no, we did not in the academy, but I did in law school, and I found that far more helpful than anything else because you start to understand what the medical examiner is looking for. And so then they kind of explain to you don't F this up when you're on the scene because we need that, that evidence is important. And okay. And unfortunately you have to learn that on the job because in the academy, they're just kind of, I don't know, they're more worried about your emotional balance than they are.
Oh man. It was after I was in the academy and the officer safety people, they started teaching again that, the most important thing is that you go home safe, don't do anything that's going to endanger yourself. And, if something.
But isn't that why you sign up for the job? You got a gun, you got the vest, you got the.
But God.
Aren't you signing up for danger?
God didn't create all police officers equal. And within any agency, there's those pretenders. And they're not going to.
Well,
and so the officer safety people would actually tell those people that might be pretenders because they didn't know at the time, well, if you can't do anything and you're too scared, just be a really good witness and that'll be sufficient.
Yeah, they Brent,
That-
Guys, yeah.
yeah.
There's two guys that were teaching it,
Yeah.
and
Bratton and Conley. It's okay. We're not going to get sued.
I was thinking more of their feelings.
Okay, cool.
Objective form.
It's true.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's what, as a tactical instructor, I'm going to tell you about the priority of life scale now. Okay. And this is what police officers, when they hear the priority of life scale, some of them, take a combat ready stance because they're like, what do you mean civilians and then police and then bad guys? Well, that's not what they're saying. It's not what we're saying when we say. We're saying innocent civilians and police right here. We're real close. Down here are the suspects. Okay. It's real close. And sometimes when you're entering a room, you're doing a hostage rescue, well, it shifts. Okay. If I get killed in this room, then I can't do anything about the guy down there. So I'm not going to go rush down there. So it can be kind of fluid, but that's what tactical instructors don't explain.
That was
bad.
Back in the day when I was in 2006, when I was talking about the chase policy, right? Because people, when I was being interviewed, would start asking me about, well, what about officer safety? And I'm like, well, look, I mean, and I was a lawyer at the time, right? So I was a lawyer and a police officer for about a year and a half. And we have this concept called assumption of risk in the legal world. And my attitude always was, well, if you volunteer to become a police officer, if you put on the uniform, and if you're going to carry a gun and wear your bulletproof vest, you are assuming a certain degree of risk, and you're doing it for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And that purpose is clear. We're going to keep the bad people away from the good people. And sometimes that's going to require use of force.
Right. We got to get in between the good people and the bad people so the bad people can't hurt the good people.
Right.
Yes.
And so when you're involved in a high-speed chase, for example, they're saying, well, if the officer could get killed if he uses his patrol car to strike the fleeing suspect. And I'm like, you've assumed that risk. Because what I don't want is for that suspect to then slam into an innocent family of four who's coming home from church or going to church or whatever. And then, their kids get killed by the suspect. Right. Because the police were more concerned with themselves than everyone else. And so the concept of officer safety for me is this very kind of elusive concept. I understand why it exists. I understand why the term officer safety exists. But at the same time, in many of the things you're dealing with as a patrol officer or even, a TAC team officer or a SWAT officer, you're assuming the risk that you're going to get hit. You're going to get shot. Something's going to happen to you. And we're all going to be okay with it because if you get killed in the line of duty, your wife is going to get your paycheck for the rest of her life. Your kids are going to go to college for free. And so we create these financial networks underneath the families of officers killed in the line of duty so that they can assume that risk without destroying their family financially. That doesn't exist for innocent citizens.
Nope.
That's how I think about it, right? So if an innocent civilian is killed by a suspect, they get nothing.
So you basically got in trouble back in 2006, I'm sorry, because of your positioning on how dangerous vehicle pursuits were. But
well, I wanted officers to pit maneuver vehicles,
okay,
so they wouldn't hit people. Now, I upon reflection, probably shouldn't have told this story, but we were chasing a guy down Kirby. Kirby has no median, right? It just has a turn lane, right? Between, I think there's 3 lanes north and 3 lanes south. And then there's a turn lane. And these guys were in a stolen vehicle and they were running down Kirby. So I just jumped into the turn lane and I got in front of them, turned my patrol car. And I was like, if they hit me, they hit me. I don't care, right? And they tried to avoid me and ended up hitting into a telephone pole. Okay, and then they bailed out. Chase was over. Foot chase was on. We got him. And, I told that story to the news and I said, listen, that's how it should end because you're paying me to assume that risk.
But at that time, that was a violation of policy.
It was. And they actually got me for it. You admitted to violating policy.
Good job.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, okay.
So my problems with the department came about because of vehicle pursuits. So I'm watching a robbery crew take down And I'm like, okay, the safest thing for the general public is if I arrest them at the scene. The command staff wanted me, well, those are black males. You're probably going to end up shooting a few. That's not good. We don't want that. In essence, what they're saying, we want the vehicle pursuit. And in my mind, morally, that's wrong because you're putting the general public at greater risk with a vehicle pursuit with some robbery crew in the middle of the day than if you're taking them down in the parking lot, where they assume the majority of the risk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, the department, like many other municipalities, are run by lawyers who have no idea what they're doing.
Well, they would never tell me what to do. The closest it came was, I was saying, hey, we're putting innocent citizens at risk, and I give us some other techniques. And it was, Sergeant, you do what you think is the right thing. And after you do it, we'll let you know if it was the right thing. And it was implied that, let's have a vehicle pursuit, but they would never actually use those words.
Well, so under the Texas Tort Claims Act, which is a statute that outlines municipal liability. What can a city get sued for, right? All right. And it's found in I think the Civil Practices and Remedies Code, how it kind of maps out what a political subdivision, like a county, a city, or whatever, can be sued for. And one of the big ones is auto accidents.
Okay.
All right. So